Hello, this is Bethany Daly with Get Knit Pegged, an authentic knitting board, bringing you the newest edition of our Stitchology series, where we share with you wonderful new stitches you can create on your knitting looms. Make sure to check the info right below this video for the link to the full post at the KB blog, which contains written instructions and charts to help you along with your new stitch. So let's get started on our brand new stitch today. This one is called Encased Ribbing. So it's a ribbing stitch that has been used. It has been blended with slip stitches that with the working yarn to the front, which creates these long lines across the front of the knit stitches of the ribbing. And it's just a really cool looking stitch. And the other cool thing about this is that it is another reversible one. See how pretty the back is too? So you can use this on pretty much anything that your heart desires, really. Blankets, scarves, hats, sweaters, you name it. The choices are endless. So let's get started on learning how to do this very simple, just 2-row stitch pattern. Okay, let's first take a look at the chart that goes along with the encased ribbing stitch. As I said before, it's only a 2-row stitch pattern, so it's super easy. It only contains 4 stitches in the repeating pattern rows with 2 extra stitches tacked on at the end. Now this border here, the darker border, shows our repeating stitches that we use for the stitch pattern, and then these are our +2 over here to finish off the pattern at the end or the beginning of the row if we're working a panel with more than one repeating stitch marker or stitch pattern in the row. So for row 1, we start where the number is, and this is for flat panel knitting. You're going to read it from right to left, and it reads knit 2, which are usually knit is denoted with nothing in the square, and dots are purls. So this would be knit 2, purl 2, and repeat for as many times as you want. These 4, and then you end the row with a knit 2. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, also, one more thing, if you're working this in the round, you'll read each row from right to left, and then you won't need to do these extra 2 stitches at the end. So you'll just simply repeat these 4 stitches for as many times as you need to fill out your pattern in the round. Okay, so let's go ahead and do row 1. Now I have cast on and just done a couple rows of the knit stitch. I'm using the U stitch for knits, and the yellow markers here are just to denote that these are my extra stitches, just to kind of anchor the pattern on the loom. So we're just going to knit those. So knit that, and then we had for the repeating stitch marker or stitch pattern, we had a knit 2, purl or knit 2, and then purl 2. I've marked the blue for our purls just to help us keep on track. So 2 purls, and then I've gone ahead and cast on the number that we need to repeat the stitch pattern twice, and then added the extra 2 stitches we need at the end. So let's repeat the pattern stitches. So knit 2, purl 2, and then these are the ending 2 to finish our row, which would be knit 2, and then our extra anchor stitch is a knit. All right, so there's row 1 of the pattern. Now let's look at our chart again. Row 2, we'll start from the left and work to the right, and we will start with our extra 2 stitches and then repeat the ones in our repeating pattern border square. This symbol in the pattern simply means to slip the stitch or not work it, and to carry this line here means to carry the working yarn in the front. So it's really slip with working yarn in front. So we'll do this on 2 pegs and then purl 2 and then slip 2 more pegs with the working yarn carried across the front. These create the encased ribbing that you saw on our swatch. So let's go ahead and do those. Okay, so we have our anchor extra stitch, which is a knit. All right, now this is our extra 2 stitches before we get into the repeating pattern stitches, and it's slip with working yarn in front. So you can do that 2 different ways. You can remove the loop that's already on the peg, move the working yarn behind the peg and in between the work so it slips right here just behind the peg, see that? And then you replace the held loop back onto that peg. And then what happens is it just carries across the front of the work and behind the peg. So we can do that again. Lift the loop that's already there, move the working yarn behind the peg and replace the loop. And then the next 2 stitches are purls, as our blue markers show. And this is the beginning of our repeating pattern stitches, the first 4 of those. So we're going to purl both of those. And then here is another 2 slip with working yarn in front. So here's another way to create that. This is my favorite way. So you're going to hold the working yarn below the loop as if you're going to purl the loop. And then you'll reach down, just like a purl stitch, reach down through the existing loop, snag the yarn as if you're going to purl, and instead of lifting that loop off and then replacing like you would for a purl stitch, let's put that back on. So I reach down through, snag the yarn, form a new loop. I don't remove the existing loop. I just put the new loop over the top of the peg and then pull. And see, now it's loose from the stitch, and we've just done the exact same thing as we did over here, just without having to lift that loop off of the peg. So let's do that again. Reach down through, make a new loop. It goes over the top of the peg, and you pull until it pops loose, just like that. See, you can see the working yarn is loose back here. And that's how to form another way of the slip with working yarn in front. So here's our second repeat of the 4 repeating pattern stitches. So we purl 2, and then slip with working yarn in front 2. Like this, and like this, and then knit our extra anchor peg. All right, and that is it. Believe it or not, that's as easy as it is to get this gorgeous, gorgeous looking stitch. You just repeat those 2 rows for as long as you'd like your pattern to be. Isn't that wonderful? So easy, so quick, and it's perfect for summer knitting with a wow effect, really. It's one of my favorite kind of stitch patterns where you don't have much work to get such a fantastic looking design. So have fun with that, and I am so looking forward to seeing what we have for you next month and to share it with you. So we'll see you then.